every time I pull up at the let out, it's a spectacle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Let Out. We got another great episode for you today. All right, so today will be no different from any other episode. We will keep the thunder rolling, and we will keep the comments. No, it's fine. So I want to start by introducing my co-host Sylvia, my co-host Chris, and my co-host Alicia, and me, Will, aka Bob B. All right, so without further ado, we want to talk about black on black crime. We really got to talk about that. We'll get a little serious with that today, and we'll talk about just overall what that looks like, what it means to our communities in regards to Black Lives Matter, and then we'll just kind of get in depth with that. We'll also talk about the comments made by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, where he alluded to a certain type of woman as being exotic and whatever that was. So we'll definitely talk about that, and then we'll get into our infamous surprise topic. All right. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get it started. We'll start off now. I want to know what about black on black crime. Let's go ahead and start it off heavy, and then we'll move more into our light episode part of the episode.
Alicia, don't come on this motherfucker with the thesis today, because you look ready. You look cocked and ready right now.
Thunder is
I will let everybody else get their thoughts out.
No, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Thesis is on deck.
Actually, we'll start with you so we'll know when to stop you. But no. So what are your thoughts on black on black crime? Like, is it just as bad as police brutality? Is it something that we need to look into more? Do we want to really talk about that now with everything that's going on and how much progress we seem to be making with everything that's going on today? So, and I actually will start with you, Alicia, to give us some insight on what you think about the black on black crime.
Black on black crime and Black Lives Matter, they are not one and the same.
Okay.
They have their own, they stand on their own merits. They're not exclusive in one. Black Lives Matter is really focused on police brutality, systemic oppression, things of that nature. So that's really the focus of Black Lives Matter. Obviously, black on black crime, and I hate the terminology, but I know it's a reality, but I hate the terminology. Reason being is because the facts are that most people of the same race are the ones who kill each other. The facts are that within a 5 to 10 mile proximity of where you stay is where crime is going to typically occur at. So if you live in a neighborhood of majority Black people, that 5 to 10 mile radius is going to be somebody else that is Black as well. 10 times out of 10, Black people are not going out to kill someone else because they are Black. Again, this is because it's dealing with proximity and where they're located at. There is white on white crime. There is Asian on Asian crime, Mexican on Mexican crime. But again, to go ahead and to give a certain narrative, the media pushes black on black crime. Now, outside of the fact of what the media is using to push that narrative, do we have a problem? Yes. Looking at what's been in the news lately, within the last few weeks, it's been horrifying to see kids being killed, women being killed, men being killed at a time where we're trying to fight against police brutality, against racism, against systemic racism and oppression. For some, this allows them to spin a narrative of Black people don't care about themselves, so why should we? Again, they are not mutually the same. Those are two different movements, two different things. Now, do I feel like, yes, there should be rallies and so forth in regards to the things that are going on in our neighborhoods? Hell yes. Right. We can't necessarily go ahead and look for someone else who is outside of our community to fix things that are inside of our community. Although a lot of those things that are going on in our community was caused by circumstances that were initially outside of our control. But now that we know the narrative and we know what's going on, we need to rein that in and get control of it. I mean, we can't negate the fact that slavery was for over 400 years. After that, you follow with segregation. After that, you follow with crack being put into our communities to go ahead and to slow down the Black Pride movement that was going on back in the 70s.
All right.
Crack ended up again taking our fathers out of our homes. It ended up impacting families,
Whose fault
impacting
is
our
that?
children.
Whose fault is that? Is it the
I
system's
think
fault that we got? No.
it is
What
the system.
I'm saying, is it the system's fault that we got on crack, or is the system just put it out there and we used it to our own?
You were already dealing with the people who were oppressed, depressed, trying to go ahead and to find a means and a way to live. So unfortunately, when you go ahead and you put in a situation where you have violence, crime, uneducated, you get depression, aggression, depression, you get all these things associated with it. And so many people, yes, even now turn to drugs to kind of go into cope. And I don't think that when we got on to crack, that we knew that the outcome of what that was going to do and how it could get you addicted and the outcome of what that was going to look like.
Okay.
Now, the ones who planted it there, of course, they knew what that was going to happen and what was going to occur with it. But do we now, like I said, I'm not trying to necessarily place blame, but I'm also trying to go ahead and to say that there was a lot of things that took place that have led us to where we're at today.
Okay. All right. So, good points. I'll see what I'll go with Chris.
Okay, I can agree with that. Those two issues are not one and the same. To an outsider, it is. To an outsider, it is going to be one and the same. But being inside of the community, I know that it's not. From the outside, you looking at it like a life lost is a life lost. And if more of people of a certain color seem to be the takers of life, let's address that issue first.
Right.
Honestly, yeah, there is a problem with black on black crime, but we can't necessarily look for someone outside the community to fix it, like Alicia said. I think the issue is more so we have to learn how to deal with our problems with things other than violence. That's a systematic generational thing that's occurred for generations and generations to come. Like, act first, think later. Fuck the consequences. It's more or less about, I'm trying to think of the best way that I want to put this is, we haven't had a lot in the past. So black people pride themselves on respect. And if you disrespect, I don't have a lot of monetary of anything, but you gonna respect me. That's the one thing that I can have regardless of money. So once you disrespect me, you done took away the only thing that I feel like I have. And I'm willing to die about that, and I'm willing to kill about that.
Right.
And I think people within the community understand that a little bit more. That's one of those things where if you ever heard the term black laws or hood laws, you can't understand that in the court of law. It's slightly different.
All right. Okay.
So I think it's about just the respect thing. People have to learn how to deal with conflict with things other than violence. They have to learn how to walk away and kind of realize that they do have something to live for.
Right.
Which means not necessarily dying, but look, like even if you don't die, you have to realize that, look, if I kill you, I'll spend the rest of my life in jail.
So you dead.
I'm dead.
I don't think that we are naturally a violent people. I think that we've come from, before we were slaves, we were kings and queens. I said what I said. We learned violence. We inherited violence. Violence was put upon us. So maybe we learned from our oppressors how to act. It may not just sound good. I mean,
I'm saying it sounds good.
With our history.
It sounds
good. There is so much in our history that has occurred to us that we have incurred, And so you have to take into account that it is a learned behavior. So the same way it was learned, you have to unteach and to reteach.
Violence is a learned behavior?
In the same way that violence, and I want to ask this, the same way that violence is learned, your hurt is learned too. The hurt from slavery, the hurt from systematic oppression, all that is learned too. So if nobody ever taught you that, you wouldn't be mad about something you don't know ever existed. Same thing with racism.
There are so many laws that even are right now that exist that still go ahead and make the run harder for Black people to go ahead and to become successful. I'm not saying that I'm not saying that we still won't be successful, because we can overcome a lot. But again, there are certain things that are placed in front of us and in our way that other races don't have to deal with. But okay. Glasses.
Okay.
Did you say
us? Us? Sylvia?
I think that it's due to being a product of your environment. If that's all you know, it's all that you've been exposed to, then that's the first thing that you gravitate to. Like you, and even if you've seen different, you because you're a product of your environment, you think that that's all that it is. I'll never get to that, or I'll never have that. So this is what I'm gonna live by. And it's unfortunate because as generations go on and on and on, it just keeps happening. Like for me, it looked like it has gotten progressively worse. It wasn't this bad at first.
What do you mean by this bad? You mean just like blacks killing blacks, or you mean just Black lives?
We know about it now.
Like brutality.
We have more media exposure. We see stuff like that.
The black on black crimes have
gotten all right.
Over generations, it has gotten bad. Not to say that it never happened, but because I know when I was in school, it happened once that I can recall while I was in school. Now it's almost like
every other day.
Very, very, very common thing for kids that are still in school, kids that are in high school. Like this is my environment. This is what I know. This is what I've learned in my environment. But then you have people that's in the environment that there are more of them not showing them the way out versus showing them the way out. Like, I don't think that there are people that care as much as when we were younger as it is now.
Okay.
So I think
fair enough.
It's a product of the environment, because if you take other black people that grew up in a different environment, their reaction is not the same. Like there are some black kids that grew up in a different environment and they are not familiar with that struggle or that street code, as Chris was speaking about, although they know about, the oppressed and how we were treated at slavery. And to a degree, I agree with Alicia when she said it's a learned thing, because this is what they used to over the hundreds of years. Yes, because this is what they used to keep us in line.
I get that.
If this is what they used to keep us in line, this is what I'm gonna use to keep you in line. And it just happened over years, over generations. It just happened. And so now,
you think that white people and slaves were the only ones that used violence to control things? Or did society do this as a whole? I'm talking all society: whites, Japanese, Chinese, Indians.
They do it too, but then there's
they weren't hung on trees, hit with rope.
Sure? Are we sure? We sure?
Also have to keep in mind that while slave owners were using this tactic to keep the slaves intact, they were all pitting slaves against each other.
Yes.
I got you.
So all of that come into play, and it for us, because we become a victim of our environment over time. Some of us have, gotten out and we know better, we see better, we do better. But what about those? They're a product of their environment. And
we do know that slaves were sold by Africans.
Hey, I guess that's part of. Somewhat black on black violence. Is that where that started from?
Yeah.
Just saying.
Well, be, yeah.
Aware of that.
So and that's my thing. Like, when you talk about black on black crime, at the end of the day, for me, there's no fucking excuses. There's no excuses. I don't give it excuses. Not for that. Because at the end of the day, somebody got to break the cycle. Who are you? Break the fucking cycle. I don't want to hear about slavery.
It sounds good in theory. The same way you said that sounds good with me. That sounds good.
500 years ago, put it to you like this. At the end of the day, we came from the same people they came from. Again, yes, some circumstances are different. I get it. We are the same. We have the same circumstances. I grew up very, very, very impoverished. Some people are the same as others, but it's just how some people react. All four of us are African American, with the exception. So, but at the same time, somebody has to break the cycle. In each family, somebody breaks the cycle. The same family are victims of the same thing, but there's always that one or two people in the family that says, I'm tired of this shit. Black on black just needs to fucking
We can't leave them behind.
But you're saying you're saying somebody in each family breaks the cycle. Okay, there's somebody in each community that breaks the cycle, but what about the ones that are left behind? They're still repeating the cycle. Everybody.
Here's the thing. Why are you left behind? Why are you left behind? Why are you left behind? That's what you got to look at. Why are you left behind? Do you want to be left behind? Do you want to be left behind, or do you want to prosper?
Can she answer the question?
On top of that, there are other things that come into play. Everybody is not wired the same. Just because you look at something totally different doesn't mean that everybody in your community that you grew up with is going to look at it the same way.
And I get that. I get that. But that's my point, though. We need to start.
Let me finish. Your impoverished may have been totally different from somebody else's impoverished. You don't know what people went through. The thing about it also is, in other communities, they're addicted to drugs. They go through abuse and all of that. They get help. They go in, they get help. They go to rehab. They get therapy. But guess what? It's taboo in our community. Period. Yes,
is it? Why?
Yes, it is.
Is that an excuse for you killing your brother?
I never felt like that was taboo, though.
It's not taboo.
I don't think that it was.
It's not taboo.
I don't think it was necessarily taboo. But guess what? When the crack was placed in our community and people got on crack, you know what they did? No, you don't have to roll your eyes. They were sent to jail. When they did crack or they sold crack, they were sent to jail. Now, with what is the new pandemic, the new epidemic that they have going on right now? Opioids, meth. They're not going to jail. They're going to court-ordered rehab.
Because the reality of it is, drug addiction is a mental illness. You are mentally dependent on that drug. And I think you know better.
But also think about the effects of what that has on our community and on the families that have to deal with that the babies that were born from that were born crack addicted. I know some myself. And so to just say to go ahead and to turn it around, change, do better, that sounds great, but that's not fucking realistic.
So all of our kids who commit all of our kids that commit these black on black crimes,
we need to reinvest back into our community. We need financial literacy.
It's not that he's just ignorant.
We need educational literacy.
And he don't give a damn about nobody else's life. It's not none of that. It's always an excuse.
Your question. When slavery ended and we became free, who taught us to read, to write, to learn financial literacy? Who went ahead and gave us the things that we were lacking for over 400 plus years, other than just saying you free, now figure it out? You don't think that that's going to have lasting effects in our community? Are you fucking crazy?
No, I don't.
I think
not this far along the line. Yes.
Did you ever read Willie Lynch and all of the information that he had on there when he talked about what he was going to do to go ahead and to infiltrate basically the black community and make us turn against each other, make us hate each other, make us distrustful of each other, all these things. And he said that if he did it, if you do it correctly, it can last for years. It has lasted for fucking years.
Yeah, to those who let it last for years, it probably has. At the end of the day, you want to say certain terms apply and use them as positivity, but then when it comes to certain things, you want to take those certain things away. You want to say you are in control of your own destiny when you want that to apply to your life, but then when it applies to other things, you're not in control of your destiny. Get the fuck out of here with that.
You are in control of your own destiny, whether you choose the positive outlook or the negative outlook.
Exactly, that's my point.
You're still in control.
That's my point.
But you're still in control. It's up to you whether you want to become a product of your environment.
Exactly.
Or not.
Exactly.
But it's really still a choice. People don't think like you. People don't wake up and say, I want to get out and get out. And then there are also people that may want to get out, but they are afraid of. You just can't put like this. There are a whole lot of factors that go into this.
Man, I get what you say. I've been around it all. Like everything y'all talking about, I've been around it all.
You talking about just your little area. I'm talking about the whole town that I'm from.
Me too.
Whole mind frame.
Me too. I lived in a town called Marianna, Arkansas for a nice period of time. When you want to say impoverished, look it up. When you want to say impoverished, when you want to say, even in the parts of Arkansas that I lived in West Memphis, Arkansas, if you want to say impoverished, then go there. I'm not speaking out of just speaking, ladies and gentlemen. I have lived it. And I understand. I'm not saying everybody's like me. What I'm saying is, at some point, you got to stop killing your own. Walking out here at a club, shooting up everybody because somebody
I agree with that.
or step on
But
your
there
fucking
is
shoes.
more to it
I'm
than
not
just
giving you
saying
slavery. No, I'm not giving
You
you
can't just
slavery
say stop.
as an excuse to kill
Stop
a
is
young
not a
fucking kid.
reality.
I'm not doing it.
Teach
I'm
people
not
how to
giving you an
stop.
excuse
Teach
to
them how
kill
to stop.
old women.
What do you mean teach
Teach
people how to stop?
stop.
That's some shit you got to do on your own.
Exactly. You're
I
not
ain't
gonna
gonna
get
say
an
that. What do you
excuse
mean?
for
It's like-
shooting up.
Realistic for
No.
everyone. Everybody
No.
don't have the tools and the
No.
resources to just
No, you got
stop.
the tool. You got the tool because you just shot it.
Exactly.
That's the
Now,
tool
what
you
if you
got.
didn't? What would you do if you
No,
didn't?
the
have
tool
it?
is here. It's not about what's in the gun. The tool is here.
The guns don't
No,
kill
you
people.
know
Your
what the
ass with
problem
gun.
is? You're right. I'm with you. The problem is what's here is that I don't give a fuck about nobody else's attitude. That's what's here. If you
But
gave
why?
a fuck about humanity, you know why? Because again,
Y'all
my
about
whole
to-
belief, as you'll find out, my whole belief is that ultimately, as a majority, human beings are selfish beings. And you don't think about anybody but your fucking self. And if you thought about the fact that there were going to be casualties, such as a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 50-year-old, somebody's mother, father, or uncle, or brother, that could die from you being ignorant and have an I don't give a fuck attitude. No, I'm not giving you no excuses. I'm not giving you slavery. What I'm giving you is I'm giving you accountability.
Hey, I think he stole your man, boo.
It's
He stole your
accountability.
man.
This is what you call the same passion that she has about certain things. This is the passion I have about no, you are not getting.
Will, let
I have
me
the
say
same
this.
passion.
Let me say this. Okay, I get what you're talking about.
It's the
My
glasses.
God,
y'all.
Kay,
It's the glasses, fool.
I got a best them on your ass.
It's not that. It's just like I really am strong. Like I don't. No, you are a grown man. At some point, yeah, you start out as an adolescent, but as you get a man, look what they say. The Bible says
Age does not determine a man,
The
though.
ways of the
Age
man?
is mental. It's mental.
I don't want to hear that. So we just got a whole bunch of mentally retarded ass fucking people, is what y'all telling me.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, okay then. Okay, well, the black
I say
race is
that.
so
I
fucking
agree with that.
human. Like, no.
There's a lot of people that don't give a fuck.
That's all
And that
it
would
is.
never really.
That's all it is.
But if you sit down and you talk to them, they don't give a fuck because nobody gave a fuck about them.
Okay, I'll put it to you like this.
So,
Pandemic.
I'm not making no excuse. All
Yes,
I'm
you
saying is no, I'm not.
That's not an excuse.
That's not an excuse. That's fact, Will. You sit down and you talk to them, they don't give
You
a
got to
fuck
get to the
about
root
shit.
of the problem.
What's the
Right.
problem?
They don't
Okay,
give a-
nobody dies when you leave them. When you put people in the house during the pandemic, the murder rate goes down. You let them near humans again, it goes back up. It's because
Wait a
you're not
minute.
fucking thinking about nobody but yourself.
Hold up. Pause. Because when people were in the house for the pandemic, the domestic violence rate went up, bruh.
Domestic?
violence went up. Yes, niggas was whooping
That's
their
hey,
with their wife's ass.
hey,
Let's not do that.
hey, we didn't talk about that. We didn't talk about that.
No, we're not finna do that.
We know what the domestic violence gonna go anyway. That's hey, if you gonna whoop them all, you gonna whoop them all. I'm talking about if you just a woman beater, you a damn woman beater. Shit.
But though, on serious shit though, it's also about reinvesting into the community and giving back. I say that because, and I don't necessarily, I'm not completely full of knowledge on the defund the police movement, because I'm
read about it a little
50-50
bit.
on that.
I have to.
And
I have
I read
to.
about
what
it.
they're saying is they want to go ahead and be preventative. They're not saying that we don't need the police. They're saying let's go ahead and invest in the community so that we can have to prevent these things from happening instead of being reactive. Let's be proactive.
No,
A lot of the different things,
that makes
a
sense.
lot of the different activities and things that kids in certain neighborhoods had available to them, those funds get cut.
Right.
And you leave these kids who have nothing but time on their hands. And idle mind is a devil's playground. It's true. I say it all the time, even with my own kids.
Right.
We have to have something for them to do. Summer programs, reading programs.
Right.
It's
And
crazy that
All right, man, hold on. We got for time. We got to wrap it up. We got to wrap it up because we got 2 more topics.
Oh,
Go ahead. No, we got to wrap it up. But no, I ain't trying to stop nobody. Go ahead and finish your thought.
I want to piggyback off what she was just saying real quick. When we were
Okay.
younger, we were saying that it wasn't that bad. We had all that in the community. We had the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, the swimming pool, swimming lessons. All of that stuff was open to our community, so they didn't have time to.
It was better.
Yeah. So,
Okay, why is that?
Why is what?
It's because we took control and we changed the narrative. That's all the boys club is. Just so y'all know. That's all it is. That's all YMCA is. Take over, get them something to think about other than fuck everybody,
right?
Except for myself. Get them something to do, get their minds right, change the narrative. That's all it is. That's all I'm saying. Change the narrative.
Why not go back to that?
Go back to that. Do something in the communities to let's take out. Look, let me tell you something. At the end of the day, is what Chris said, and I'm going back to it. Murder is murder. Yes, we don't want people that's supposed to be protecting us to kill us, but we damn sure don't want to be around our own, who is all we got, to be killing us as well. I don't want to. Let me tell you something. As a black man,
I agree, but again, they are still not mutually the same. I still want to make sure to differentiate that. Okay. I understand what you're saying. Right. Black Lives Matter movement is not for that.
It's not a game.
It's not
mutual. Yeah, it's not a game. Okay, so let's talk about 50 Cent and exotic women. Most people heard that conversation and they thought that 50 Cent meant that a certain woman, a light-skinned woman with long hair was an exotic woman as opposed to black women who you see every day weren't exotic. And I think that's what they thought. So I want to get your thoughts on that, and I'll start with Chris this time, but what are your thoughts on the whole exotic woman deal?
All right, well, I'm gonna first off jump out there and say, shit, y'all know me. I like exotic looking women too. So with that being said, it's a preference in a sense, but that's not it. That's not all you want.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's not all you want. I would never say that because I like a woman that looks exotic and because I like a woman that looks exotic, does that make a black woman any less beautiful? Hell no, that is not the case.
But it's okay. Here's where you
have a funny looking exotic motherfucker too.
Right, but see, here's the thing though, Chris.
You said, a motherfucking fabulous, astonishing looking black woman.
But here's the thing where I gotta ask you, when you say exotic, because this is where I think the cross comes in at. When you say exotic, but then you separate it in the same sense and say that darker women can be beautiful. And then so you just that's what I'm saying. So when you say that, I think that's where it hits black women in the nasal it's like you saying exotic and then you say darker, which all in itself implies that lighter women are exotic. And that's what I think.
The case. Those things are not mutually separate of one another.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
Because let's use this for example. We'd have had this conversation amongst each other several times.
Right.
Tatiana Taylor, exotic looking as hell.
Right.
She's a black one.
Right. No, I got you. So when you say exotic, you mean more of a different types of features that you don't see every day. Okay, I got you. Sylvia, can't go to Alicia yet.
I was here because my first thing is, okay, so what is the definition of exotic? So I looked it up and it's originating in or characteristics of a distant foreign country.
Okay.
Said exotic. Did he just say exotic? Because I didn't hear it.
I don't think he said that either because I watched the clips and I didn't hear it.
He didn't say it.
He said exotic.
He said the word exotic, but he didn't say that they were dark or brown.
And
no, he just referred to black women as angry, but go ahead.
That's not what he said. Go ahead though.
No, he did.
And that's my thing, because if you want to look at it, true African women are exotic women. They have features from another. And then also, I really don't care. I mean, it's 50 Cent. Do you expect anything less? Your preference is your preference. If he like exotic women, he like exotic women. I like husband. I like black dark men.
Let's talk about that. I don't want to cut you off, but I want to talk about that because that's a point that I want to raise. Is when we always talk about black women who want light-skinned women or dark men that want light-skinned women, we never mention the fact that a large majority of light-skinned women actually like dark-skinned men. We never talk about that. It's preference. And what people don't understand is that, again, opposites attract.
I don't care if that's what you prefer. I don't care. As long as you don't say I prefer.
Except Alicia. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I prefer like in my case, I won't say I prefer darker men because light men, I think all light skinned men are ugly or whatever. No, I think, there are very, a whole lot of attractive light skinned men. My preference,
dark skinned men.
What grabs my attention?
No, just go ahead.
But it has all. When I go back and I think about everybody that I've dated, for majority of them have always been darker complexion. Like
saying. I mean, I think it goes back to the LGBTQ community when, these days, and not just them, but a lot of people. I'm just using them as an example. Just an example. But I don't want them folks on me.
Right.
But it's just to say that everybody's sensitive to what you say. Everybody's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, no, it's not that, man. It's just that you have to understand everybody. That's how they be. Oh my God, oh my God. So it's like, it's a preference. It's a preference of the person. If a person says, and if a person says that's what they want, that's what they want. Alicia, we got 5 minutes. Go ahead.
You ready to strike?
You can have a preference. Everybody does.
Right.
In having a preference, I don't feel the need to try to put somebody else down because there's something else that I prefer or I like.
When did he do that?
He mentioned the fact that he liked exotic women because you can see basically,
he said they don't look like the women
that don't look
like every day.
That you see every day, right?
Exactly.
And so he was just saying the fact that he liked exotic women with long hair, certain features. Then here comes the angry Black woman.
Okay.
There was no need to tie those two references in together. If you're speaking about what you like, there was no need to go ahead and bring us into the subject. Say you like exotic women, then leave it as it is.
Yeah,
and it just when he said he liked exotic women, Lil Wayne with them 3 dreads left, it cracked him up with his dark-skinned daughter.
Even she came out and said something. But let me say this.
She did because because it was fucking offensive. Just because that's who you like.
I think it's a preference.
You're a Black woman, so it's not for you to say whether it's offensive or not. It's for me and for Steven, any other Black woman, brown woman to say whether it was offensive. It's not for you.
No, but it's really not. It really is for me. It really is for me.
It's not. Nobody asked you.
If it's not.
You're not a Black woman. You wouldn't find it offensive.
If not, it's not. Yes, I could. It's not because I have. Yes, I could. I could find that offensive. Especially since I have a dark-skinned woman. I have a dark-skinned woman, so
I can know how she feels and tell me that.
I can have that.
I want to know how she feels about it then.
No, I'm telling you how I feel about it. How I feel about it is because, for one, it's our show and it's my turn to talk. So the thing about it is so the thing about it is I think again, black women are so. They are so like touchy on this subject that you can say anything and then they feel like it hit them right at home.
You can say I like exotic women, but I love my Black women. I love my sisters too.
No, you can say I love exotic women because all he said was basically it's just
all women.
It's something that I don't get every day. It's just like, okay, people love exotic cars.
So exotic women is not Black women. Once again,
so if I say I like exotic cars, I gotta say, but I like Chevys too. Nah, fuck that. I can tell you that I like exotic cars.
Listen, but do you
make a difference?
Have you took the time to understand why?
We talked about that on another episode. It's called, like he said, angry at Black women. Like, why does it even matter what he likes? Who is he? Who the fuck is he? That's what I'm saying. Why you letting me get you?
But do you understand why when he used the term angry ass Black women, that is so sensitive to us? Because that's what we're pegged as before we're pegged as anything else.
Yes.
It's because y'all angry as hell.
Oh my God.
You know what? I got a question. I got a question. This is probably a big topic. Why do y'all give a damn anytime somebody says that?
He has a platform.
Oh, fuck. We got a platform and we got another minute to go.
Like that.
He has a platform, we got another minute. All we got is 1 minute and 42 seconds. And I want to get my other subject out. And the other subject is I want to know why people are loyal. Why people can't be as loyal to other people as they are to, say, a football team or a beautician.
Damn. I guess
what I hear, what I see and what I hear, and I'll say this and maybe it's only a statement. What I see and what I hear a lot of times is that a lot of people will say, fuck that person. That person crossed me once, crossed me, you'll never cross me again. Or if you fail me once, you'll never fail me again. Fool me once, fool me twice, you know the story. But then your football team, who you love so passionately, your beautician, she'll fuck your head up once, you'll keep going back to her because she know your head. But you won't be as loyal to a person that has proven to you over time that they really, really care for you. But your team loses every year, losing like a motherfucker. But your husband lose one job, you leave him. Don't make sense to me. Why the fuck are you that loyal to a fucking football team that don't belong to you?
Another topic.
So we're gonna definitely get into that. I got 1 minute. I want to talk about that, and we shall. We had a great show for everybody today. Comment.
I think I'm gonna say this real quick. I think
no, you're not, cause Zoom.
No, you ain't saying nothing.
I just did. The level of expectation is different. Bam, there it is.
No, that ain't. So like, comment, subscribe, watch the show. The viewers are growing. I appreciate everybody for watching. Panel, any last words or last words that you think you're gonna get out?
Will, we got your ass riled up this session. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Hey, you did steal some mad though, man. You stole a little bit of mad, just a little bit.
Hey man, everybody.
Every time I pull up at the let out, it's a spectacle.